Good afternoon. I'm not sure if it's good to be the one that speaks after lunch. I hope everybody's awake. So I have been coming to China to work with vendors and help them develop, to suit our customers, and develop their capabilities since about 2000. And it's never surprising to me, it's continuously surprising how fast China develops. That's not just the country itself or the infrastructure, the sophistication of the vendors, the growth of online is explosive. And it's a momentum I don't believe we'll see again in our lifetime of a country moving this fast. With that said, I'm always asking myself, what's next in China? And this is a question that we get from our vendor partners. It's a question that we see our customers ask every day, what's next? A lot of times we get questions from our vendor partners that say, what's the next product I should be selling? What's the next trend? But more important than product or trend is really, where is the market? Where is your customer position in the market? And where is the customer's customer in that market? How many groups of those customers? Designing around the customer's customer is what we do every day to work with our vendor partners to ensure they can meet the needs and build around the market needs. So what we'll talk about today is more about what the buyers, your customers, want to hear, what they want to see. When they get your presentations, when you're presenting proposals, they want to see that you understand the market, that you understand who's their customer, and that you designed around the customer. Many of our vendors don't have the capabilities to do that, and it is a process and it is a discipline. But it doesn't have to be so difficult. It just takes a starting point to step forward and continue to step forward and continue to evolve. And it'll get better and better for you and your business and position you as a partner rather than a vendor. So a little bit about our company's background. I won't spend too much time on this part, but we were established in 1978. We've been helping retailers come into Asia, like Home Depot, Staples, in the 80s and 90s. We also have functioned as a trading company, which many vendors may know us as, but our agency division is a bit different. A trading company has to form a relationship with one vendor or two vendors and develop together and go to market. As an agent, we have to be very neutral. We have to present our customers a range of vendors and help them understand the capabilities of the vendors, and then bring them the vendors that can be partners. So it's a bit different in our approach, and our role has evolved. When we restarted the division in 2007, I also had to reevaluate our position in the market. The market had changed. Do our customers really just need us to go bring them a factory? No, they needed a lot more from us. They needed for us to help them earlier in the product life cycle, in defining the product requirements, not just going to find vendors. So our model changed also. I started putting people in the customers' offices to help develop the programs and helping through every step of the product life cycle. So we also had to assess our market, understand where the market's changing, and try to meet the needs of our customers. Also, we had to ask ourselves, do we have the right customers today? Do we have the capabilities to serve the target customers that we see? So our value as an agent is not to be a vendor, not to replace the vendor. Our value is the glue between vendor and customer. Help the vendors develop to add the value that will position them as partners, not just as suppliers. And that is a multi-step process, and it depends on the category, it depends on the position. There's a lot of variables. But it's really more of a mindset and an approach to your market, approach to understanding your market, understanding your customer's position, and ultimately your customer's customer. And there's many different groups of customers. So today's topics, we have a saying in the U.S. that there's an elephant in the room. And what does that mean? It means there's a big issue that nobody wants to talk about. This here is the I Ching. That is about change. It's the book of changes. It's a book I've tried to read for the past 20 years, but I'm just not smart enough yet. So I'm working on it for my retirement. So the big issues we may not like talking about is, am I in a sunset industry? A lot of our vendors think about this. They wonder about this. Is my business going to be decreasing year over year? Is my industry going to be moving out of China? It's a big question. Rising labor costs, operating costs, aging infrastructure that was built for low-cost manufacturing being upgraded for high-tech manufacturing. So where does that leave a lot of the factories? New technologies that challenge traditional labor models and are a significant investment. Global market forces, political issues, regional issues. There's so many things. Digital dynamics have broken down traditional competitive barriers, and you have new competitors all the time. And they can move fast to market. They can get brand awareness like that. The retailers are experiencing this challenge with online competition. No one would have expected Amazon would be on the top 10 largest retailers by today. No one would have expected that Walgreens would be taking market share from both grocery stores and from mass merchants. No one expected it. So are they watching the market? Are they tracking the market? Are they moving ahead of the market? So that's a little bit of the challenge that I'll pose to you today. The key part is embracing and staying one step ahead of change. Is there a magic answer? No. But it starts with a process, a step, and a discipline. So key topics, we'll talk about the purpose. We'll compare strategy versus execution. A lot of our partners today in the vendor base think they have a strategy, but what they're really doing is executing on a plan. It's different than forming a strategy. Mastering your market, you'll never master your market. But again, if you have a process and discipline, you're going to be asking the right questions. Asking the right questions opens the door to speaking the same business language with your customers and opens the door to becoming a partner. Understanding your customer's market position. That position often changes. For example, where Walgreens started as a drugstore has evolved and has changed. Their market position has changed. Where Whole Foods, not sure if you all know Whole Foods, but they started as a health food store. Today, you can buy a glass of wine while you shop. They've become an experience company. Outside in versus inside out. When you look at your strategy, are you objective? Or are you starting with an idea that you think is a good idea, and then you're going to figure out how to make it work? Or are you starting from understanding what the market really needs, and then driving back into how you're going to meet that need? Refining your strategy and target customers. Sometimes you have to ask the hard question. Do I have the right customers? Who's going to be my next group of customers? Where do I want to move to the next step? And then we'll talk about some trends in the industry. So strategy versus execution. It's really my perception of this. It's not, there's many definitions of strategy. Mine isn't the only one. But what I see here is a lot of times companies think that they have a strategy when they're really just executing on a plan. So what they're doing every day is different. About getting things done is different than how you get it done, and how you get it done differently. Where is your differentiation in the market? All of us in this room have brands we love. There's a reason why we love those brands. We love those brands because they connect to us emotionally. They meet a need that we have. And we'll talk about a couple of companies, such as Starbucks and Uber. We'll talk about, are you really buying coffee? Are you really just taking a ride? What are you really doing when you connect with those companies? So what does difference mean in your market and to your customers? It's not just a general idea of trend. It's really about what it specifically means to your target customers and, more importantly, their customers. That's what they're building around. Are you in alignment with your customers? Are you in alignment in understanding who their customers are and who they're designing around? So to develop a strategy, you have to have a starting point. And it all starts with knowing your market and knowing your customer's market position. Most importantly, the next step is, how do you differentiate? So some basic questions. They seem basic, but when you drill into them, they're not so easy to answer. What is my customer's position in the market? More importantly, where is the market going? Did anybody guess that a drugstore would have doctors on site where you could go and get a shot? Did anybody think a drugstore would have high-end cosmetics for premium customers to come and buy? So the market evolves. The question is, are you following the market? Who is my customer's customer and what do they want? A lot of times, your customer has to know that information better than you. Are you even asking the question? Are you spending time in the market? Are you learning about who is their customer and how is their customer base changing? Who are they going after next? What stage of growth are they in? Where is my customer's growth going to come from? With the rise of online, there used to be a separate buyer in most retailers for inline brick and mortar stores and a separate buyer for online, because it was a very small percentage of the business. Online retail is forecasted to be 10% of total retail sales by 2017. That's a big number in a very short time. Those buyers will eventually become the same. They're already becoming one and the same in some of the larger retailers. But different sets of requirements, different sets of customers. One buyer servicing more types of customers and more types of requirements. Are you prepared to service your buyer? How does my customer define key partners and value? That's different to every organization. It also depends on what stage of growth are they in. Are they mature in going direct for direct import? Are they just starting? Are they very advanced in private brand development? Or are they trying to become a placement in private brands in the market? How can I add value to my customer and enhance my position? And where should I invest? You can't do it all at once. You got to take it step by step. But you have to align those steps, not with what you think is best, but what your customers need the most. So we have another saying in the U.S., curiosity killed the cat. My girlfriend actually gave me this picture. She says I'm too curious. But in reality, curiosity is what saves the business. Staying curious about your market, about your customers, ensures that you're asking the question, the why. The why is what matters. So inside out versus outside in, and I've been guilty of this many times. Inside out, I think, maybe, what if the market will take my product? Where can my product fit? Outside in is a little bit different. What is really happening in the market right now? And where is the market starting to trend? Where it may end up tomorrow? And how are you prepared for that? Data and research. There's a lot of data out there, but is it good data? Are you getting smart data? Your customers have had to figure out how to get smart data. Are you sharing that data? Are you even asking for that data? Are you positioning yourself as a partner where they want to give you that data? What the customer needs, the customer's customers need, which is driving the market dynamics. And it all starts at the customer. It doesn't start the other way around. So this was a big aha moment for me when I was managing one of our design divisions. I had not participated in design before. I always thought that you start with an idea, you come up with a bright idea, and then you figure out how to make it work. In the inside-out approach, that's what happens. It starts with a bright idea here at the C level, and they say, well, I'm going to push it out to the market, and I'm really hoping someone's going to buy it. And I think this is who's going to buy it. That's the inside out. In a design approach, companies that do it really well, may it be Audi versus Honda, they're taking a very different approach to the market because they have different target customers. They're starting with different consumer insights. They're talking to the dealers that have the first level information of what customers are asking for. They're then moving into customer service. What are the biggest complaints that we have? What are the biggest challenges we have? Where is our biggest quality issues? Sales and marketing. What's really going on? Challenging their sales and marketing teams to say, what's really going on in the market? Where's the market really trending? What are our customers really, our competitors really doing? Operations. How am I going to make this happen? How am I going to execute on these multiple strategies? And then it gets presented to a C-level, which then takes it out to the market. Probably asks a lot more hard questions. So a design approach to market analysis also incorporates several different aspects. It's not just the functional aspect. It starts with people. It starts with the customer's customer. What is their needs? What do they desire? From there, functional innovation. How am I going to meet those needs? And how am I going to explain those needs? How am I going to change the product to be more of what they need? Process innovation. How am I going to make it more efficient? How am I going to deliver it on time? How am I going to solve some of the downstream challenges that my customers have? That your competitors, which are the importers in those markets, have figured out a long time ago. Are you aware of all those downstream things that you have to do in order to gain that business? Experience innovation. When we talk about Starbucks, it's really about the experience. It's not about coffee. It's about another place I can go to make a presentation, or not to have to go have an alcoholic drink, to have a social environment. It fills a need of experience. So what does the customer feel when they desire these products? So you look at business, people, and technology as enablers. Technology is the enabler today, because also the customer can access information, compare pricing like that, like never before. So they're a lot smarter. This is called true demand. It's not this anticipated demand, this guessing demand anymore. It's true demand based on data, based on access to information that customers can compare very quickly and share what they think about it very quickly. So starting with the why, this is inside out and outside in. There's no real rule, as long as you do both. So why? What's your purpose? What do you believe and want to achieve? That again asks the question, are you selling to the customers you want to sell to? Have you achieved the goals that you want to achieve? The how, the process, really about actions. How are you going to make it happen? You can have a great idea, but you got to really think about how you're going to make it happen, which is really driven by the results. The results will tell you if you had the right idea and if you executed well. It's really about results. The important part here is this is the same way your customers are measuring your performance, measuring the ideas you brought them. Did you bring them good ideas that resulted in strong sales? Are you watching the sales regularly to see which SKUs are selling well and which are not? Are you moving fast to address the SKUs that are not selling well? You have access to this information, but a lot of our vendor partners don't use that information. That is what shows the customer that you're a partner, that you're actually looking at helping them be more competitive and helping them be faster, helping them move faster. And then, again, the who. Whose needs are you meeting? Some customers, like Walmart, have so many different groups of customers that come to the store every day. And I'll give an example. Sitting with the vendor last week, talking about a program. It's automotive. And it's about the cloths, microfiber, that clean the vehicles. So we were looking at the presentation, and he says, this is what I'm going to present as a new item they need to buy. He puts it up on the screen. It's a picture, and it's a description of the spec. Is that a trend? No, that's a product description. What's the first thing the buyer's going to ask? Why should I be buying that? The second question they're going to ask is, what's different about this from what I'm buying today? So we talk a little deeper. So why do you think this is a good idea? I asked the vendor. And the vendor says, well, my dollar store customer is buying this because their customers like to come in, very price sensitive, buy it, use it, throw it away. I'm also selling it to Walmart, where their customers like to come in, and they're very price sensitive, and that's really the volume movers. I said, that's great. Sounds like you really understand the customers that need this product. But the customer we're about to present to, completely different. Completely different customer. The largest specialty automotive retailer in the US, their customers love their cars. Their customers might even wash their cars by hand every single day. Are they looking for something that they can use once and throw away? No. They're looking for something that's the higher quality, that's going to last, that's going to treat their car well, because they really love their cars. In concept, the idea is okay if you only care about price. The question is, does the customer's customer only care about price? So looking up at the mountain or down at the landscape, a lot of our vendor partners have somehow decided to be in a business because they had some experience with it, or they thought, hey, this is a great product that I should make. I've seen it being made before, I can make it better. And then they stumbled into a customer, and then somewhere they hit a ceiling. They can't grow. What's the next step of growth? How am I going to get my next customers? And I think I want to sell that customer and that customer and that customer. Well, each one of those customers have different requirements. They have different needs. They have different groups within their customer base. So I say looking down from the landscape view is important. From the top, look at the whole terrain, which is the general market. Where is the activity? That's your customer's position. Where are they playing in the market? The next step is, where is the movement trend? The customer's groups. Their traditional customer may be decreasing, and their new customer groups may be growing. Do you know the difference between the existing customers and the new customers? Can you have that conversation with your clients to discuss and develop together? If you understand their market, if you understand their customer's customer, their customer base, and the different groups, you start to have those conversations, which starts to build trust, which starts to build partnership, where you start to develop together. So let's talk about looking at the market. This is basic information, but it's still not always so easy, because the question is, where do I get this information? So first, it's about assessing your customer's position. You have customers today. Where do those customers fit? You may know generally where they fit, but where's that part of the market trending? Where is it changing? What are the dynamics? Who are the new competitors? What's happening to the existing competitors? What's going on in that market? So positioning starts with, how do you differentiate your product or service in your target market? That's the important part. Not just differentiate in the general market, in your target market, and determine what niche to provide. That means filling gaps. We'll talk about gaps later. Positioning starts with the customer. What's their motivations? What's their requirements? Where are they at? There's a whole set of questions we'll talk about later. It continues with your competitors' positioning capabilities. What your competitors are doing is very relevant to you, because it's a benchmark of what you at least need to meet, and then how do you exceed and how do you do it better? Or do you not even want to compete in this space? Because you find out you have capabilities better suited for another target market? So that kind of assessment is important. Then this analysis and resulting strategy helps position your company and product's identity with your customers. And we'll talk about how they look at suppliers today, which isn't as simple as it may seem. So, why is your customer really buying from you? We talked about why I buy from Starbucks. When Uber launched in the US several years ago, I live in a city that's very convenient, and I love to drive my car. And I thought to myself, I will never use Uber. I use it all the time. Why do I use it? There's occasions where parking is inconvenient. There's occasions where I just don't want to deal with it because I've got a lot of people. They've made it easier for me to pay. What if I don't have cash? They made it safer for me in certain markets. When I go to Mexico to visit our team, it's safer for me to take an Uber than to take a registered taxi because they track every movement the whole way. So what did Uber really do? They found all the gaps. They found the hidden needs. They made the consumers aware of those needs and they exploited them. And they did it faster than anybody else. Could Yellow Cab Taxi or any big taxi cab have created an app and made it easier and dropped their prices? It's too late now. Why is it too late? Because Uber's up and running, they have momentum. They'll even drop off lunch for 2 at my house for $20 during the weekday. So let's talk about top-down, looking at strategic market development. Now, it seems very simple. It is simple to start general and go specific. That's really the guise of top-down thinking. It's start general and drive to be specific. But the interesting part here is you can't ever take this for granted because it changes. Where your customers are positioned in all of this will change. Also, your business may change. When we started our division, we were only focused on consumer products. Our goal was to diversify, not just mass merchants. I want to sell high-end. I want to sell commercial building. I want to sell electronic, wearable technology. I want to do high-fashion accessories. I want to diversify our business, where today we have many different types of business in many different segments that balances out our risk. That's important. That didn't happen overnight. We had to build our core business and then expand our business step by step, but we at least had an understanding of what that was, where we were going next. So you may be selling to Home Depot today, for example. Well, why not sell the same product to commercial distributors that have a simplified distribution model? You're not dealing with retail. It could be a viable opportunity for you. So then the next step is the channel. In consumer products, you've got the retailers, distributors, wholesalers, and they all provide different solutions. Sometimes you still need a distributor. Why? Large amount of SKUs that move very slow. The customer doesn't want to sit on it. They want you to provide that solution for them. So maybe you need a partner with a distributor to serve that person. Maybe a wholesaler who's more nimble, that can service the customer differently and add some value by being there every day because they live in the same market. Maybe that's what the customer wants, maybe they don't. But understanding the industry and channel is important. The channel segment is important as well. Mass merchant, warehouse club, specialty drugstore. Then the segment. What types of groups of customers do they have? Luxury, premium, high-tech, middle market, extreme value. And then the sales channel. How are you selling today? Are you selling direct? Through a broker, through an agent, online agent, sales rep? Each one of those channels requires a different sales approach. You can't have the sales approach for the same one for every channel. You have to tune and tweak. But now let's talk about why this is important. So Warehouse Club, the largest in the US, is Costco. Everybody knows that. But where did they start? Today, you will say their customer segment, primarily premium. That's not where they started. They started in middle, in some cases value, but they moved up the value chain. That's why it's important to track this information, because your customers will evolve as well. Walmart moved into grocery. Did anybody expect it? Walgreens started as a drugstore. They're now taking market share from grocery and from mass merchants. So your customers will evolve, but do you understand, can you communicate that change and that evolution if you don't understand your market? So while it seems basic, this information is important. And then we look at the retailer-based segmentation, how segmentation works. It's another example which is pretty basic, but Whole Foods did not start over here in experience makers, which is over here. You can't really see the pointer, but it's over on the right bottom side. Whole Foods did not start there in experience makers. Target did not start there in experience makers. They moved there through evolution. And what does that mean? Their different groups of customers changed as well. If you look here, Dollar General and Dollar Tree, quick shops. Walgreens was a quick shop. Where are they now? People now consider them moving over into the experience makers. So they've changed their pattern of going to market. They've changed their stores to reflect that. No more high shelves, no more clutter, reducing the amount of SKUs and programs they offer, very clean environment, open environment, higher end merchandise that drives margin. So understanding how does your customer evaluate their customers, and how do you get alignment into that? So segmentation. Let's talk again about Walgreens. Walgreens says, I want to add a premium segment to my customer base. Then they say, well, who am I going to target? I want to target young professional females that are willing to spend more for higher end cosmetics. So they change their targeting. And then they have to think about, how am I going to convince that target to come into my stores and I have what they want? So they started with co-branding. They went in and brought in the brands into their stores to pull the customers in. And once they had them, they then started to develop their private brand strategy to bring premium or middle products under their own brand and capture more margin. And then start to reduce the SKUs in the national brands, which is a very common private brand strategy. But it's happening where you might not expect it. So keeping track of understanding not who your customers are today, but where are they trending, where are they moving? That's very important to know. What are the new groups they're going after, and how do you get in early? How do you become a development partner early to develop that new segment? So understanding your customer's position, some questions. Where do they fit in the market? Not just where they're positioned, but where do they really fit, and where are they moving? Where's the movement? What's their strategy, and what's their stage of growth? Are they growing, or are they declining? Are they holding steady? If they're declining, how's your business going to grow? So are you aligned to the right customers? What's their major interest in finding partners? What do they need right now, today? And where are they going? And you have to start to anticipate what they may need. And you have to have conversations at different levels of your customer. And we'll talk about engaging with your customer later. Does your strategy match their needs? What are their main challenges today to increasing market share? Where are they losing market share? Where are they gaining market share? Does your product meet the market position standards? How do you match it to their needs and also bring difference? Meeting their needs just means today. But how are you going to bring difference and create something? Create a new need or answer a need before you're asked for. That's the type of strategic thinking that you can work with your customers through asking the right questions that's going to position you for the future. So there are different sources to get this information, but we'll talk about that later. But let's talk about top priorities for retail executives. So a survey for retail executives, this is done by Deloitte. Where's price? It's a lot further down the list than what our partners typically think. They think it's all about price. I just had the conversation at lunch today. It's all about price. Is it really just about price? Or is it because the customer doesn't understand how quality is defined in a production process? How does quality change? One level up, one level down. Is it clear? Is your presentation clear on the production efficiencies and investments you've made and why you're making the best products? Maybe, maybe not. But it's really more about how you communicate. So investment in multi-channel, omni-channel, what does that mean? That means they have new sales channels they have to focus on. Why? Because they're losing market share to new competitors. So how do they answer that? Are they late to online? Are they late to mobile? Is their new growing customer segment require mobile purchasing in order to gain that segment? So they're investing in multiple channels outside their traditional channel. That is priority one. The next priority, relative to what we do on this side of the water, investment in product portfolio. They are investing in differentiation. Why? Because there's so many competitors, so many new competitors, and so many of their non-traditional competitors are taking away their market share. So it's all about differentiation. And it's also going to be about faster in and out, high trend programs that have different requirements than what they used to stick on the shelf all year long. And you may be already hearing those requests today. Reducing the cost base is still important, but what does that really mean? Does that just mean FOB cost? Not necessarily. You may be able to hold the inventory for less cost than they can when they sit on it in the States. You may be able to find solutions to offer them that brings out the total landed cost, not just FOB cost, but total cost of ownership. There may be ways you can help them in that process. Investment in pricing, same thing. How are you going to reduce the cost but improve the quality? But they're interested also in working closely with their partners to figure out, to go deeper, all the way to the material side, to say, how can I better engineer my products to drive out costs? So vendor versus partner, the customer's view. Vendors provide products. They might be the right products, they may not. But typically, your customers have to bring together a group of vendors to solve the solution. It's very common. But what makes different with the partner? The partner starts to be a vendor that can provide a total solution, but also start to fill the gaps. It doesn't mean it happens overnight. It means step by step, they invest smart, they invest in what their customer needs the most, they design their business around their customer. Partners also provide ways to overcome the challenges of moving business direct. Do you understand all the challenges that your customers have to move business direct? We'll talk about some. So now, when they are looking at their vendors and assessing, what type of vendor do I have? Is it a vendor? Is it a partner? They look at capabilities. What are capabilities? It's the net, or the total view of what you do really well and what are your gaps. And the goal is you have to reduce the gaps in the eye of the customer to become seen as a partner. That's not always easy, but it takes a commitment. The question is, do you understand what those gaps are? Is it in product development? Are they saying, you guys are bringing me some good ideas, but not really something that answers my whole program needs? My goal is to reduce the number of vendors I have, so I need some vendors that can help me consolidate programs that are willing to invest. Production flexibility. Which vendors can help me reduce lead time and MOQ if I give them a rolling forecast? Which vendors can help me take a few sub-vendors into the same packaging and own the packaging side to provide a total program? Which vendors can help me warehouse in China, maybe in the free trade zone, which has a lower cost than what it costs me, the customer, to do in the States? Partners also address the gaps, so they go after the gaps, but they communicate very well as their value propositions change. So we'll talk about engaging and communicating your value later. So some examples. Market research translated to the customer's market. Now a lot of vendors will say, I give my customers trend every year. And that trend is they visited the market and they took some pictures of what's on the shelf today. That's not market research. That's only talking about today. The customer is interested in tomorrow. They're also interested to see trend that's specific to their target customers, not general. Many times we have conversations with our vendors that says, hey, what's different? What's the difference between Pier 1 and Bed Bath & Beyond? These are two very different retailers with very different customers in the U.S. But that's something you have to take ownership of, is to own your market knowledge. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to try. Don't just visit the market, research the market. So, process innovation, not just product innovation. A lot of our vendor partners are doing something that's much more efficient. They're continuously investing and progressing, and they're not communicating that value. They're not communicating the downstream effect on cost and how they've been able to maintain the cost over these years as the labor costs have come up and all these investments. Communicating that value is important, and looking at process innovation. Packaging solutions become very important to communicating the ability to offer a complete product range. A lot of times you have a solution of a program, but it's coming from 15 different vendors. And then you can see that the packaging looks a little bit different. That's really not what the customer wants to achieve in bringing their private brand to market. They want to be seen on at least the level of the national brands, if not higher. Packaging consistency is very important. Being able to tie programs together and take the lead on tying those programs, managing the quality aspect, is where you start to bring solutions to the customer. Warehouse support, after-sales service for private brand programs, that's not for every product. It's on certain products like electronics or fans or things like that. It becomes very important. If they're going to take a private brand, how are they going to offer the service to the customer that doesn't know how to put it together and wants to call? Very important aspect. Affordable and efficient design and rapid prototyping, what you can do more efficiently, what additional services your competitors in the target market are providing that you can meet or exceed if you want to grab that business. So, retailers' expectations for top partners. Is it about price? We ask the question again. Price is kind of further down the list here. What's number one? Knowledgeable and capable staff. They want to know when they place business with you that you can get it done. And you've got qualified, capable people that can get it done. On-time completion, flawless execution. All the downstream things of not just getting it out the door, but when it lands in their DC, it's exactly as they wanted it. It doesn't cause problems in their supply chain. All kinds of things where the data is provided to you on how you're performing on their systems on a weekly basis. Are you looking at it? So price is important, but there's so many other aspects that are important. It's about total value, performance, and partnership, not just price. So how do customers view their suppliers? This is from one of our customers. It's pretty basic, but tier 1 suppliers, large volume, stable revenue, consistent on-time delivery, in-house or external design support, track record of relationship commitment, support when there's need for support, they ask for support, limited and infrequent quality and testing issues, they invest in quality. They make sure that what gets out the door is exactly what they expect. Tier 2 suppliers, new vendors, they don't have a history. They may have solid performance, they're building their design capability, but they're committed to it. On-time delivery is a focus, but there is some uneven record of commitment or support. There's a question on can they really execute. There's a question on if they're bringing the right designs. So that's the difference. There's no reason a tier 2 supplier cannot move up to tier 1. And we've worked with many of our partners to go from tier 2 to tier 1 because they're committed and they make the right investments at the right time. Tier 3 suppliers are kind of really backup vendors. There's poor performance, pretty self-explanatory. Now, this is kind of a busy slide, and I did that on purpose. The reason I want to put this up there is so you know how your customers really look at the different types of suppliers and how they're measuring. They're really taking many views to looking at their suppliers and vendors to say who's really my partners, where am I going to grow that business, and who is just my backups, who are the guys I just have to work with because they're one of the few and they're the biggest and it's a commodity, and where are the ones where, you know what, there's always going to be 10 vendors offering me the same thing, so I'm just going to buy it for the same price or the lowest price, whoever ships to be more efficient. So it's a very common model, but they're actually doing this. But what are they really looking at? What is the impact and value to the business? What is the complexity in the supply base? That's what they look at and measure. So, customer satisfaction comes first. What I buy, does it sell? And are my customers happy? That's the total quality equation, not just price, but relative quality to the price based on market expectations. Cost of doing business, product differentiation, new technologies, and what's the impact? They are tracking the failed initiatives and the cost because they have to learn from their mistakes. Are you doing the same thing? Are you in alignment? And a lot of these failed initiatives wouldn't be as big of an impact if the vendor partners is tracking the sales and moving quickly to address the issues when there's slow performance. That's also how you protect your business, by really engaging with your customer and tying into the way they measure. That's important. On the supply base, effective competitive barriers. How heavy is the competition in the market? A lot of our companies, our customers come to us and say, I want you to bring me 5 qualified vendors for every program. Is that realistic? Usually not. We start with 10, we get down to 5, we whittle down to 3, and usually 2 make the cut. That's the funnel. And that's what they expect. So they really expect that we're going to have 5 vendors, backups for every program? No. But they know if we don't go wide, and we don't go deep, we're never going to bring the right vendor. So the question to you is, how do you figure out to be the right vendor for your customers? Range of supplier options, it's about supplier leverage. How much leverage do suppliers have? In commodity markets, sometimes they have all the leverage. Sometimes they have none. But in the strategic partner area, it's really about balance. That's why it's where they diversify and co-develop. It's what positions them for competition when they have a strategic partner or a backup vendor for strategic partners. On the other side, it's really about buying power, aggressive costing, multiple options, leveraging their volume if they have their volume, or find a way to work with others to increase their volume. So you've got to really look at and think about, where do you fit in your customer supply base? So what does the collaboration really look like? Another big question is, how mature is your customer in working direct? Some are very, very mature. They've had private brand strategies for over 10, 15 years. They're very deep. They have inside design support. They have inside quality support. They have engineering and product development teams, and they need you to really execute quickly with top capability. So you've got to match their resources in your organization to be able to speak the same language and move quickly. So that's on the far end. On the beginning side, if they're very new to direct import, with some retailers and some key segments still are very new, they really are focused on volume. But very soon, they're going to move through there, and they're going to start looking at, I got my volume now, what's next? And how am I going to separate the vendors from the partners? They start that in stage 2. In stage 3, they start building programs with their partners. That means if those programs go well, they're going to continue to expand. In stage 4, it's true collaboration. They're integrated, not just building programs together. Supply chains are integrated, data is integrated, and then again, we talked about what happens when they're very mature. So where is your customer on this stage map? It's an important question to ask, because each one of these stages have different requirements. So, we'll go to what's your strategy. Not always an easy question. It may seem very basic, but if you really drill down and you get into your market, you may find out there's a lot more to think about. So what's your target market? US is very different from Europe. Different sets, but plenty of volume in both. But you have to service differently. Channel and segment in your target market. Clearly define all your channels and segments. Are you in too many segments in those channels? Are you focused to get to where you're going to get to? Or do you have all your eggs, as we call it, all your eggs in one basket? You only have one customer that has 80 to 90% of your business. That's risky, and we've been there. Sometimes the market moves faster than your business model. And sometimes your business model just doesn't fit the market. You really need to assess that. Don't wait to do that. You can always change, you can always adjust, but you need to know really where you stand. That's your starting point. So consider your position and value proposition, what you think and what is reality. Does what you think really match what's really going on in the market? Is your model current? Does it meet the market and customer trend that's also looking forward? Where is it trending? Are you using 3D technologies for prototyping? How long does it take you to prototype? Well, pretty soon, customers are going to buy their own. They're going to start doing it themselves. And then they're just going to send it over and say, make this for me. Unless you're already doing it. So the needs are there. Do you understand all the needs? How do you add value? What is different about you? Not to the manufacturer next door, but really what's different based on all the market dynamics. What is different against the trends, your customers' competitors, and your competitors? If your key customer does not have leading market share, what does their competitor, who does, what do they do differently? And how are you going to help your customers fill that gap? This actually is quite fun to go and do and research and find, because in that is so much learning that's going to change your mindset of approach to business. Do you have something your competitors do not have? Are you communicating that? Do you have something ahead of the market? Are you able to explain why they should be buying that trend? How do you communicate your value and strategy? Are you engaging with your customer? Are you just engaging with your buyer and it stops there, which we call bottom-up selling? Or are you engaging with multiple levels of your customers from executives down? So you're going to hear something different. The priorities are different by roles. If you engage with every level of your customer, you're going to have a much better feeling and idea of where they're headed and how you can support them. Do you have the right mix of customers today? Not always an easy question. And how will you solve your challenges? But most importantly, are you meeting your own vision? And are you where you want to be? So now we'll talk about how to do some alignment into your market evaluation. First, there's internal alignment, which is customer alignment. Then we'll talk about market alignment, which is the external factors. On customer alignment, I call it discover and define. So we have 4 stages. So discover and define, confirm, and deliver. So in the discover stage, you have to ask the right questions. You have to engage with the right people at your customers. You have to network into your industry. You have to take advantage of your business to get the most out of your market business. Really to do research, not just to look at what's on the shelf. So what is the company's strategy and positions, and how do they make their decisions? Most of the customers that our vendors work with are public companies in the U.S. They publish an annual report every year. Usually when I ask my vendors in our vendor conference, how many have read the customer's annual report, maybe I get 1 or 2 hands that raise. That annual report tells you everything that you need to know about where is the customer today, because it's public. It's a public company. So it tells you what is their market position, what is their market share, where are they growing, where are they losing, what is their strategies, who is their customer, who is their next group of customers they're going after, what are their strategic initiatives. Reading that one report will maybe get you 50% more awareness of where your customer's at. And then engaging at the right level to clarify that will give you a lot more information on how to now support your customers and change the perspective of being a vendor to a partner. Sources, the customer executive, we call that top-down selling, not bottoms-up. Buyers change, and it's happened to us. Buyer changes, we can lose $1 million of programs overnight. If you don't engage at multiple levels of your customer, and the multiple levels don't know you, it makes your business much more risky. Now, your buyers. What type of buyer do you have? Are they pickers? Do they like to come and you tell them what they should be buying? Or are they builders, very advanced in trend development, knowing who their customers are, and they just want you to execute for them? So whether they're pickers or builders is a completely different presentation process in working with your customers. Asking the right questions shows strategic interest. That alone positions you differently. They will look at you differently, think of you differently, engage with you differently. The industry analysts, there's a lot of analysts that track retail and they track certain segments. Find out who they are. Watch what they're saying about those public companies. Look at where their weaknesses are. Look at where their strengths are. Look who's leading the pack. And look at why they're leading the pack. You're getting other people's intelligence for free. The blogs, there's a lot of bloggers that have had so much influence on the retailers that the retailers called them in first to look at new product. Follow those bloggers. They're more dynamic, they're less structured, they're more focused, they go deeper, they focus on a very tight customer group. Find out who the bloggers are in the market and follow them. Visit your customer in the market and participate in their line reviews. What does that mean? Well, customers will come over here to select product, but you can offer to go there and compete with the domestic suppliers. You should. There's so much learning to be had by going there and seeing how the decisions are made, seeing who your competitors are. You may not see all the products that they're offering, but you're going to get a much bigger sense for what's the energy in this category, how are they making their decisions, and how you can support them better to eventually get better and better to support their business and become a partner. Now, understanding your customer's customer. What are some of the questions? Sometimes you can get that information directly from your customers, and other times they're going to make you work hard for it. They want you to buy your own marketing reports. They want you to do your own research, because that's earning your business. So it just depends, but you can still ask the question. What are the questions you ask? Who are they? What do they want? Where else do they shop? Where else do they shop? And what are they buying there? What trends do they follow? What else do they buy? Start to understand your customer's customer. You will understand who you're designing for. Now, market alignment from the external side is now evaluate and refine your strategy. Understand the target market, we talked about that. Understand your customer's position, not just channel segment target, market, product tier, pricing strategy, where do they fit, who do they compete with, what's one level up, one level down, how do you define the ratio of product and quality by type of customer? Where are they playing? It's important to show your customer that you understand them. That is also important when you start having discussions on pricing, because you start to talk in a way they understand. This quality of product at this tier has these features, functions, benefits different from this tier and that tier, from what this customer buys and that customer buys. Those are the important conversations that move you into a partnership conversation. Understand your customer's top competitors. How are they similar? Who has leading market share? Who is growing the fastest? How are they different? Because I guarantee you, your customers are watching that every single day. The better you understand that and talk about it and see it from a product standpoint, from a service standpoint, from a trending standpoint, you're going to be a value-added partner. Benchmark your customers' competitors, benchmark your competitors. Where are the gaps? Refine your strategy, refine your value proposition, promote all aspects of your value. How you present is extremely important. How you break things down is extremely important. Don't worry about the pictures of the factory. They're going to walk through the factory. Don't worry about the org chart. They just want to know who's really going to support. What they really want to know is, where is your value? In product, in production, in quality, in service. Execution and follow-up in the market is very important. You've covered the strategy part. Now it's about execution. Follow-up is everything. In the market, track your performance of the sales. Sometimes you'll have access, most of our vendor partners have access to large or mature retailers that give them access so they can track that and help them with inventory, but more importantly, help them adjust to the sales dynamic. We had one of our vendor partners forecasted 1 million units for the year, hit 1.3 in the first 3 months. Nobody expected it. Nobody saw it. Customer doesn't forecast effectively. How do we solve the problem? Now we have a capacity issue. But if we're looking at that every week, if we're looking at where the sales is trending, we don't have to get to the end of month 3 to see that sales are going crazy and we need to make fast adjustments. So as an agent, we've had to add different roles that are non-traditional to fill that for our vendor partners. But I still encourage our vendor partners to take on that interest. Interest in protecting your business. What protects your volume? You have to find all the ways to take interest to protect your volume. Refine your strategy, we talked about. Then reacting quickly to slow performance, we talked about. Bringing new concepts and solutions to the gaps, we talked about. So let's talk about adding value. Market intelligence is not a product description. A lot of times, our customers present new ideas and they say, this is what you should buy. Nice picture, description. And as we talked about before, what the buyer wants to know is, why should I be buying this? Who is even interested in this today? Why is it a new trend? What is being made in this product that is different? How are you going to execute on it and bring it to market faster? Trend must match your customer's position in the market. What's hot, what's new, what's coming, what's going. Value-added services, what does that mean? New technology for superior production, great. But it should lower cost and improve quality. That's an example. After-sales service we talked about. The more important part is true design based on research of the market, not just copying the market. Get out there and research your market. Reinvest in value-added services. Customer engagement, value proposition. Now how do you communicate that? Why are you in this business? Who are your key people? Why you have capable, reliable, and sustainable production? What key investments have you made and why? A lot of times our vendor partners have made the investments, but they don't communicate why they made those investments. There's a lot of benefit to communicating that. How do you research the market and what is your target market? Why does it match your customer's target market? Why are you really interested in their customer's customer, in your customer's customer? Why your product meets the market needs, why new products, what, why, who, and how. Product and packaging presentation must match the way your customers merchandise. This is communication. This is how your customer thinks. How do they present the merchandise in their stores? Your presentation should look very similar, especially in your category. How you solve challenges and continuously improve, and what value-added service you offer. So, in summary, to wrap all this up, moving forward, don't just visit your market, research and study your market. It's an investment in time, resources, and networking. Establish a network of people in the market that can help you get the information that you need. Mastering your market is a process and discipline. Start your process, develop your discipline. Understand the channels, segments, and target accounts, and your customer's customer. Evaluate your customer's position. Understand how your customer defines partner. Fill in the gaps. Know your competitors and your customers' competitors. Benchmark regularly. Determine if your strategy position matches the market. Most of all, embrace change and enjoy the process. Okay, how much time is it? Question and answer? Okay, thank you very much.
非常感谢 Mr. Ron Faruqui 为我们做出如此精彩的分享。由于时间的关系，我们本场问答环节限制了，只能问一个问题。有任何疑问的吗？